The debate on Facebook Live. We thank our digital audience for remaining with us, as well as the candidates for being so patient and sticking around.
Our first bonus question goes to Mr. Ashford. The United States holds more than $21 trillion in debt. That's almost $65,000 per person, more than the median income in Nebraska. Does that worry you, and what would you do about it in Congress?
The tax bill that passed in December of 2017 was egregious. The middle class portion, the tax cut for the middle class, which amounts to about somewhere between 15 and 20% of the entire tax bill, actually terminates in 7 years. The 80% or more of the tax cut goes to the wealthiest of Americans and to corporations. You can't have a 21 trillion. When we got over 20, when I was in Congress, it was clear to us then that any time when we got to the point where we were over $20 trillion in debt, we were in deep trouble. We have to ratchet back these tax cuts. We have to take the corporate tax rate to an amount that is reasonable. 26 or 27% had been suggested by President Obama. That's a bill I supported. The other thing, or an idea I supported, the other thing is there's no investment in this tax bill. In order to get the debt down and get the deficit down, is you have to invest in infrastructure. You have to invest in jobs. But we now have spent all the money. We have no money for infrastructure. We have no money to meet the needs of our citizens. And it is terribly egregious, in my view.
Ms. Eastman, if you were voted to Congress, what would you do about the national debt?
Well, I agree. I mean, the tax bill that was passed by the Republicans is the opposite of fiscal conservatism or fiscal responsibility. It is irresponsible. And we need to flip that tax bill on its end. There are so many people right now that are suffering in our country, and I see this in the district every day, of people who are struggling to find a decent wage, to find good paying jobs, to pay off their debt, to pay their utility bills. And that tax bill is not looking out for regular people. It's looking out for billionaires and corporations. We have plenty of people in Congress that are fighting for those people, for fighting for large corporations, fighting for the billionaires. It's time to elect people who are actually going to fight for people.
Okay, Ms. Eastman again. Offutt Air Force Base is in District 1, but many current and former service members live in District 2. What role does the Omaha area congressional representative have in preserving the prominent role of the base?
Well, I've had the honor of talking to a lot of people in the district who work at Offutt, and what we hear over and over again, well, first of all, I think the base is well preserved. I don't think it's in jeopardy of us losing it anytime soon. But what I continue to hear is the #1 issue of the families in particular of service members, because keeping in mind they serve too, is that housing and education and health care are major issues for people. The same kind of issues we hear from people across the district. We need somebody who's going to actually think about those kinds of things when we're talking about how we preserve and protect the people serving this country.
Mr. Ashford, the base.
Well, quite frankly, the 55th was in jeopardy when I went into Congress in 2015. There were several bases that were options for moving the 55th. The runway had been on the docket for years, had not been fixed. Working with Jeff Fortenberry, quite frankly, we were able to secure the funding to fix the runway, to preserve the 55th. But let's be clear, the 55th was on the way out of here, and at least it was in jeopardy. So I think fixing the runway was critical and took a lot of our time, and I'm proud of it. Getting the VA Medical Center done, something that had been on a list of moving up and down a list for years, creating a public-private partnership so that people will stay in, once they leave the military, know that they'll have an adequate medical facility to go to. We passed the bill on the last day at the lame duck when I was there. I think those are all important considerations. Kara's right, it's about families as well. And health care is a major issue, and I think the VA Medical Center will help preserve those families and their health care needs.
Our final bonus question goes to Mr. Ashford. The national unemployment rate is down. It's about 4%. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are being created each month. Stock market's around 24,000. Since voters often vote for their pocketbook, how would you convince general election voters who are doing well financially or economically to vote for a change? Mr. Ashford?
I'm not sure they're doing that well financially, to be quite honest. I mean, if you take, yes, I mean, the employment is down, but wages have not gone up commensurate with employment. So what you have is you have a little bit of an uptick that could be not by inflation because of this tax bill and government spending and taking the debt above $20 trillion. So I'm not sure that you're going to see a lot more money in your pocketbook, number one, in your family pocketbook. And then number two, the increases in premiums because the Republicans have failed to address the health care needs of this country and have failed to understand that the premiums are going to continue to go up because they will not shore up the ACA. Those premium increases will far outweigh any wage increase. And so we have to get into Congress. The Democrats need to take control, and we need to address health care, and we need to address the debt and the deficit.
In terms of the question, Ms. Eastman, we talk about people feeling comfortable. You talked about going door to door and speaking with lots of people. Is that what you're hearing, that people feel comfortable? They might not want to change because they feel okay now?
People say that when we talk to Republicans, they say everything's fine. When you talk to Democrats, they're singing a different tune. And I think that this is an important thing to point out is like, it's not that people are seeing a huge benefit. Most people we talk to are not seeing any benefit. They're seeing, I talked to one woman who said her paycheck went up $25, but her premiums went up $35. I'm worried about the long-term impact of that tax bill. I don't think we've really seen the impact that it's going to have until now. But in talking to voters in the district, and like I said, in 40,000 doors, people are struggling. They're not finding well-paying jobs. They're not finding jobs that put food on the table. People are having to work 2, 3 jobs. And we're also not filling the jobs that we need. We have a huge gap when it comes to some of our labor in this country. And that's happening in this district. We need more nurses. We need more people who are able to fill some of these higher paying jobs as well. And places like Metro Community College are able to do that. But at the same time, we have to start looking out for regular working people.
Let me ask you this, because that wraps up our bonus question. So a follow-up for both of you, if you will. And again, thank you for sticking around. For those who have watched the debate and who have been with us for roughly 47 minutes now and have seen a lot of agreement between the two of you, what's the biggest difference that you want the viewer and the reader to take away tonight when they say the difference between Kara Eastman and Brad Ashford is what, and the difference between Brad Ashford and Kara Eastman is what?
I am the only lifelong Democrat running for Congress in the 2nd District. I am somebody who has experience in bringing people together to work towards compromise, but compromise is bringing people together to find solutions to problems. It's not compromising the people that I'm supposed to be serving. I believe that is the difference, is that I stand by my convictions. The voters know where I stand on things. That doesn't mean that I won't compromise to find solutions, but I want voters to know who I am and what I stand for and know that I will listen to them and I will fight for them as a Democrat based on democratic values, fighting for health care, fighting for education, fighting for the environment. I have been consistent in my views and I will continue to be that so that the voters can trust me.
Mr. Ashford, biggest difference between you and Ms. Eastman?
I don't know if there's how much difference there is in one sense, and that is we both have the same vision for the country. I think to help people in need and to address the needs that have been identified to me and to Kara throughout this campaign are real. I think the difference really is I've spent 18 years as a legislator. And yes, you have to change your mind once in a while, and it's stupid if you don't. As I said, you know, to change the world, you've got to change your mind once in a while. But the voters have always trusted me here, I think, because I've always gone to them. We won an election for Congress. We barely lost an election to go back to Congress by 1% of the vote in a very difficult year. I've spent my entire career working in the center, bringing both sides together on very difficult issues. The Veterans Hospital bill was half Republicans, half Democrats. You're not going to solve health care. We're not going to solve immigration from extreme positions. You can change your tactic. You can change how you get to a result without changing your values. My values are wedded in the 18 years I've spent in the legislature, 160 years my family's been in Nebraska. The Nebraska way of working together and solving problems is what I've been doing my entire career. It's what I did in Congress successfully as a freshman. With only 2 years in the Congress, we passed a major piece of legislation by bringing people together. That, I think, is the difference. I don't think we have a difference in vision. I think we both care deeply. But I think we have a difference in experience.
All right, we thank both candidates, Kara Eastman and Brad Ashford, for sticking around to answer additional questions on Facebook Live. Thank you as well. Michael and I will have some final thoughts in just a minute, but at this point, we're going to allow the candidates to greet their families and answer a few more questions off to the side in what we call the green room. So thank you for joining us.